Our guest speaker today is well versed in addressing a college preparatory military school. He has been blessed with a splendid record of educational accomplishments and impressive career milestones, distinguished by an affinity to serve his community and those around him. Colonel Oliver Norrell earned a bachelor's degree in speech communication from the University of Virginia, followed by a Juris Doctorate from the T.C. Williams School of Law at the University of Richmond. In 1999, he also graduated from the US Army War College, and in 2016, he was awarded a PhD in Public Service Leadership from Capella University. Colonel Oliver Norrell served in the Army National Guard as a military lawyer, a logistician, an advisor to the general officers. During his military career, Colonel Norrell commanded 2 support battalions in the Virginia Army National Guard and served as the Virginia Guard's Chief of Supply. On active duty, among other assignments, Colonel Norrell was assigned to the National Guard Bureau of the Army Guard of Chief of Human Resources. His last assignment on active duty was as the National Guard advisor and instructor at the U.S. Army War College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. He retired in 2013 after 30 years of service. Among his awards are the Legion of Merit, Meritorious Service Medal with 3 oak leaf clusters, Army Commendation Medal with 4 oak leaf clusters, an Army Achievement Medal, and the Virginia National Guard Bronze Star. Colonel Norrell's civilian occupation was as a practicing attorney. For 22 years, he served in various state and federal positions, primarily as a prosecutor. He was also employed as an attorney for a Fortune 500 company and also in private practice. After retirement, Colonel Norrell served as the senior Army instructor at Huguenot High School in Richmond, Virginia. He currently serves as the Director of Army Instruction for the Richmond, Virginia Public School System. He is married to Miss Catherine Norrell, and they have been blessed with 5 children. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to introduce to you Colonel Oliver Norrell. Please give him a round of applause.
Good afternoon. Looking out at the assembled Corps of Cadets, I'm reminded of my time. I spent 3 years at Valley Forge Military Academy. And I can't tell you how many times I've stood on our parade field and some old man came forward to give some words of wisdom. And I was standing there and all I could think of was, okay, let my mind wander and I'll just pray that he'll be short and that he'll be quick. Well, I will tell you, I will be short and I will be brief. As Benjamin Disraeli, the 19th century author and twice the Prime Minister of Great Britain, said, "Be amusing, never tell unkind stories, above all, never tell long ones." So I will not tell a long one. I'm sure you've heard the cliche, freedom is not free. However, it's not just a cliche. It's a reality. It's a statement of fact. There's a price that comes along with being free, and that price is paid with blood, sweat, tears, and sacrifices. Millions of men and women have sacrificed, and some have died for our concept of freedom, from the Revolutionary War against England to World War I to World War II, to the Korean War, to Vietnam, to Afghanistan, to the war in Iraq. And in between all these wars that we fight, we've had men and women stand in the gateways, be it on the land, sea, or air, to protect us and to defend our freedoms. These men and women of all races, creeds, colors, religions, cultures, all came forward. Among those were also persons who were not citizens. They volunteered and they came forward in order to defend our freedoms. Someone had to stand. They realized someone had to stand to fight. And from their perspective, it was, who is going to do that? If not them, then who? If not then when? So they chose then, and therefore they have become our veterans. At home, I have a t-shirt that says, some gave, let me rephrase that, all gave some gave all. This saying is appropriate for today's ceremony. Everyone who was honored today at this ceremony gave something of their lives, whether it was time, effort, blood, sweat, or tears, but some gave all. Every person who's ever enlisted or been commissioned in the US Armed Forces gave something. It doesn't matter whether they voluntarily enlisted or were drafted. They gave up something of their lives to serve our nation. Every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine who has ever stood guard gave up something to be there, whether it was personal freedoms or something else. But I want to divert from the traditional honoring of those who directly served and helped maintain our freedom. Even though their service can never be fully honored, I want to focus today on the spouses and children of those who have served, for they gave some as well. And I know, my dad served 22 years in the Army. He retired as lieutenant colonel. During that period of time that he was in the Army, he was assigned to several locations, among them Washington, D.C., South Korea, and Germany. As you know, the Army typically will reassign a soldier every 3 years or so. My parents had 4 children, and the 4 of us were raised by my mom primarily, with help from her and my dad's families. My parents did not want to continually uproot us every 3 years, so we remained at home in Richmond, where the relatives helped support the family. When my dad was assigned to the Walter Reed Medical Center in Washington, D.C., he was able to come home on the weekends. When he was assigned to South Korea, we stayed in Richmond, but he was not able to come home on the weekends. And then when he was assigned to Germany, we all went with him. We packed up and left home, all 6 of us. The entire family was uprooted for 3 years. My mom had been a high school assistant principal in Richmond. She had to give up her career, had to quit, give up her career to travel with us to go to Germany. It was an educational time. It was a fun time. But for 3 years, she became a real dependent. During that period of time, we were exposed to new places and people, but we also sacrificed something. Whether this sacrifice was interrupting my mom's career, being away from friends and family, or just feeling insecure in a new environment. Looking back on those days, I realized my mom sacrificed quite a bit, but I don't recall ever hearing her complain, not once, about my dad's absences. However, knowing my mom, I know she did at some point. So it is only fitting that she is buried with my dad in Arlington Cemetery and gets to be co-honored today like he is. Not all families can survive the prolonged absences of their loved ones. Divorces are not unknown in the military. Putting one spouse's career before another can create conflict and turmoil within a relationship. And even when that relationship survives, it can still create long-lasting friction. These are all things that strong military families learn and survive. They survive the absences for training. They survive the absences for deployment. They survive the absences during assignments. They survive by strength of character and strength of will. They survive with the support from their families and their communities. These families of veterans are among the unsung, unrecognized heroes and heroines of our nation. They seldom complain in public. They rarely show emotions. They endure the loneliness and sometimes the loss of their loved ones, all for the good of the nation. They deserve and have earned our highest respect. So often we take for granted the sacrifices of the supporting cast, the families of the warfighters. We assume that they neither need nor want any kind of recognition for their part. Maybe they don't. Maybe they're just humble and accept it as part of the life that they have inherited when they married into the military. But I sincerely believe that whether or not they want this recognition that they so readily deserve, we should acknowledge their part in their service and to our nation, and they should receive our thanks and gratitude. So to all of you veterans, to all of you spouses of veterans, to all of you dependents of veterans, these wreaths are for you and for those who have gone before you in recognition of the service and sacrifices made for the security and well-being of this great nation. We currently thank veterans for service. I believe we should also be thanking their spouses and children, for they have sacrificed as well. Thank you.